Hello, welcome back to Oliver's Greenhouse. Now in this video we're going to be having a look at some of those carnivorous plants in my collection which are going to require a dormancy period. Now a lot of especially sundews, a lot of carnivorous plants, especially sundews in the natural environment will have seasonal variation apart from those ones which are tropical. So they'll experience the colder winter spells and the intense heat of summer. And depending on the species, they will either go dormant or reduce growth during those particular times. That way conserving their energy. So for example, if you've got things like tuberous Drosera, they're going to be coming into active growth in the winter, in the cooler periods of time. And then they're also going to, and then adversely, they're going to be going into dormancy in the heat of summer, so conserving their moisture as an underground little corm, basically. Then we've got other things that are more temperate, such as Drosera binata, which are going to be growing actively through the growing season, which would be spring, summer, and to a degree early autumn, at which point they're very sensitive to drops in photo period and temperature, so they'll start going into a dormancy period where the growth will be dying down and they'll be performing a resting bud or a hibernacular in order to safely pass through winter, ready for the growing season next year. So I grow a lot of carnivorous plants here in the greenhouse, not as many as I used to. I'm slowly starting to get more and more of them moved outside. The plan is for this winter is to create a bog garden for them out here in the back garden so that I can actually shift 90% of the carnivorous plants outside. They're going to be happier out there. They're going to get a lot more sun. There's going to be less humidity, which is going to be good for some, not so good for others. But it's going to provide more space for me here in the greenhouse to expand my collection. And it's also going to mean that I can basically cultivate more of them and also therefore sell some and make a bit of an income from them. So a lot of them are going to go outside. That's the big plan anyway. So today we're going to be looking at those plants which I'm going to be putting outside, which are going to need that rest, and those which don't need that rest, and also my king sundew, because it's going to be the first year I'm going to put it outside right the way through winter. We're going to put a mulch on top of it to protect it once it's formed that hibernacular. And what that's going to do is it's going to promote it to flower next year. So when it comes back into active growth next year, it's going to produce a flower spike, hopefully. Therefore, we're going to get some seeds. So we're going to be able to germinate and grow some from seed, which is a real challenge for that species. They can be quite fussy, and those of you who have tried to grow them realise as young plants they can be quite picky, so it's quite easy to lose them. But it's quite a challenge I'd like to accept. And also, if we've got any left over, we can donate them to the International Carnivorous Plant Society seed bank. So that'll be great. So what I'll do, I'll pick you up, have a look, and we'll just point out the ones which we're going to be taking outside today, and I'll be showing you how you can create an outdoor environment for them to ensure that they are given a bit of protection through a harsh winter. So just a quick look at some of the carnivorous plants which are in the greenhouse at the moment. We've got Drosera Adelaide over there, which is coming back from a hot summer. I didn't really like it. Doesn't like the heat too much. Likes the humidity, doesn't like the heat. We've got Darlingtonia growing over here. These are my little seedlings. I grew these from seeds. They are very robust, so they will handle extremely cold temperatures, like literally covered in snow, no problem whatsoever. So those are quite happy to grow outside as long as you can keep them nice, keep their roots nice and cool during summer. They're a great outdoor carnivorous plant. There's Drosera scorpioides just in the centre of a shot there. Behind it is a carnivorous bromeliad, a reductor. I can't remember what it's called now. Hang on a minute, I've got to look it up. It's going to bother me. Brocchinia reductor, that's the fella. That needs repotting as well. It's starting to look a bit miserable in there. We've got Drosera capensis. I'll just zoom you out so you can see that. These are my original plants, which has now just become like a ball of plants. They will tolerate down to about 5 degrees centigrade, no more than that before they all die off. They usually come back from dormant seeds, which will all be scattered around inside the sphagnum moss in which it's growing. We've got Utricularia reniformis, which is this one here, just directly in shot. That will not go outside, that would die. That's a type of epiphytic carnivorous or semi-epiphytic carnivorous bladderwort. It's got lots of new little growths coming up on it. We've got some other bladderwort down here. This is Utricularia biscmata. That also not good for outside. Moving further, Drosera spatulata. That can tolerate some cold temperatures, but probably wouldn't tolerate freezing. So that's also going to stay inside the greenhouse. We've got Drosera filiformis vartracei, centre of shot. This is going to already start to die down. It's starting to get some black tips. The new growth started to reduce. It started to limp over. I always find that's an indicator for this one. That will form a little woolly resting bud. So this guy will be going outside. I'm going to pick you up and move you, so these plants are going to be a bit easier to see. This is Drosera binata, straight in the centre of shot. So this is definitely going to go outside. It's already starting to, I swear they're even sensitive enough to pick up the loss in or the drop in photo period. So this is starting to die down now, and it will form hibernacular, little red resting buds in here. Over the back is this is Drosera binata dichotomer giant. This is already gone, so it's starting to look a bit sad and manky, so I've just cut the whole plant to ground level with a pair of scissors. That's ready to go outside because that could really use the winter rest. And other plants, there's some more which have already gone into dormancy, so I can show you what one will look like. This is a little Drosera binata seedling. Well, it's a plantlet. This is one I took earlier this year and potted up. If I zoom in, hopefully you guys are going to be able to see that. Basically, in the crown of the plant, just by my finger here, there's like a little red woolly bud. So it's already died down to save all its energy, and sugars and stuff have been stored in its roots, and it's forming this little bud, waiting for the weather and the heat to increase, and then it will come back again and turn into, for another growing season. Plants like Drosera binata multi-feeder, which is directly in shot here. These guys can be grown happily all year round. They're not super fussy. The one that hangs from my ceiling is just grown constantly moist all year round. Doesn't have a problem, never have any issues with it at all. But Drosera binata, such as this one here, will require winter dormancy, and so will the dichotomer giant. So now I'm going to show you where I move them to for winter. Okay, so this is just an old, cheap plastic greenhouse. Okay, these things are, you can pick them up super cheap on things like Amazon and stuff like that. So they're very little expenditure, but they're great because they've got tiers in them. So we've got trays, we can put our plant trays on that are going to hold a little bit of water, in which our dormant carnivorous plants are going to sit. And you can get them with wheels, and you can cart them around and move them all over the place. And what this is going to do is just going to provide a little bit of protection from the worst of the cold during the winter, because obviously, despite the fact it's relatively thin, this plastic material, this area will remain a lot warmer than the outside atmosphere, which is going to be great for protecting those plants. And basically what I'm going to do is put the trays in here and just simply put those ones that I expect to go dormant, or the ones that will go dormant, straight in here. And that includes Drosera regia this year as well, which I've already explained. We're going to try and get that thing to produce some flowers and therefore some seeds. So probably want to give this has been sat around the back of the greenhouse. I've just had some plant pots in it in the meantime, just for basically just for a bit of storage. So I'm going to give it a clean out with some kitchen cleaner, or you could give it a clean out with some kitchen cleaner. I'm just going to pop the plants straight in there. That way they're still going to get plenty of sunlight, but they're also going to be allowed to get cold, which is going to help with that dormancy. And it's also just going to keep the worst of the weather off of them. Okay, so that's this guy position now. I've got all my all those carnivorous plants which I'm going to overwinter and going to require dormancy in here. Even the King Sundew's got pride of position right up the top there, so he's going to get plenty of sunlight. Now we're only in September. It's been really dark and dank and rainy and miserable, but there's still a chance of it getting pretty warm on some days, and especially in a little plastic container like this, it will heat up horrendously quickly in here. So my recommendation would be obviously to do what I have shown you here, but to leave the door open for the moment, because it's just, and up until we're sort of heading into the realms of getting our first frost, because otherwise you run the risk of actually cooking this in here really badly. So just leaving the flap open like this is going to allow enough air in there that everything's still going to remain nice and happy. Now this isn't going to stay where it's located up against the greenhouse. I'm actually going to move this. This is going to go over onto my decking for the meantime and hang out there. It's still going to get plenty of sunlight, but it means I can get past the greenhouse without having to brush past this every time. So I hope you like this little instructional, and this is, well, this is, I wouldn't say this is the way to do it, but this is how I overwinter my carnivorous plants which require dormancy. When the king sundew does eventually die down and form hibernacula, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a nice big handful of dead pine needles. So one, I'm pretty sure the Environment Agency are going to be that hacked off. You take a plastic bag out, find yourself a nice stand of Scots pine or Monterey pine or something like that. Get a load of the dead leaves. You usually get a nice big thick mat of humus. Pick that lot up. Let it dry out a little bit, and then just lay it on top of the pots. And what that's going to do is, if it does get moist, it's going to release a little bit more of acidity back into the soil, which the carnivorous plants are going to enjoy. And also, if it does get super frosty, it's going to protect those resting buds from getting frozen. So hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, and leave a comment, and I'll see you all again soon.